Welcome to Tech This Way.
Okay, welcome, Vincent.
Oh, sorry.
Are we starting out? Let's start now. It's okay. I like it a little more casual.
Right. Thanks for having me. Glad to
Yeah,
be
no
here in
problem,
this
man.
Cozy little setup.
It is.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you're from. I
No.
saw your LinkedIn and it says Fintech journalist, right? Okay, so I guess that's a very niche area of journalism.
Yeah, I suppose, right? I mean, you have journalism in tech and then you have a specialization in tech.
Yeah. So why don't we go a little bit further back? You know, how did you start? What was your interest? And then how did you end up with Fintech Asia?
So I think as you might have remembered, many years back when I used to run the banking technology conference.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Even yourself, we invited you as a speaker as well.
Yes.
That was way back before the fintech buzzwords came up. So I think during that time, I've actually focused a lot onto content production,
Mm-hmm.
looking at major trends that's happening within the banking and the finance industry. And somehow, the whole fintech trend started landing in Asia, and I was paying attention. I'm like, yeah, you know what? It seems like a good space to jump in. Good kind of segue into journalism to do this. Yeah.
Was that something that's always
Oh.
interested you, journalism, or did you kind of fell into it?
I mean, it was always at the back of my head that I wanted to do something with writing for a living. So I think it just fell into place when the founder of the company, Christian, he was like, hey,
Founder of which company?
of this fintech news network,
okay.
right? And he was like, do you want to join me in setting up Fintech News Malaysia? So when we kind of set it up, it was 3 years ago. There was then a lot of the Series A, Series B, more mature companies were just starting out. So it was a good space to be in. We've got connected to a lot of founders and we really were able to keep our finger on the pulse on what's going on in the space. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then, where were you before that?
So I was with this events company called Knowledge Group of Companies.
Right.
And
And that was more just events, right?
more events, right?
Mm.
But I was quite heavily focused on the content production side.
Okay. What do you mean?
So like we select who are the speakers, we select what are the topics of discussion within the conference. So that exposed me to a lot of what is going on around the world and what's going on around the region.
And I guess that helped with your current role, right? Because you
Yeah.
met a lot of people, a lot
Yeah.
of the fintechs around the region, right?
A nice little way to propel your
Yeah.
your way into journalism, something
Okay.
that you're really familiar with. That's how I met you as well.
That's right. Yeah, in one or two of those
Yeah,
events.
yeah,
Do you miss that though? Do you still travel around a lot?
I
to
still
get
travel around a lot. I don't organize conference anymore, but participating is a lot more relaxed than organizing it.
I can say, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, when I started with conference organizing, I had a full set of hair, and
Look at where you're now.
yeah, it's not there anymore. So it's quite a intense job, I must say.
Yeah. Do you know if
Mm.
just before we go forward
Mm.
to the fintech
Mm.
news side, in terms of events, is it still a hot bed of activities around this region, or has it slowed down a little bit in terms of,
Oh, yeah, for sure. I
Outstanding.
think it's quite a lot of activities going on.
Mm.
But of course, whoever that's organizing events around Asia, you have to contend with Singapore Fintech Festival, which is huge.
Yeah.
But there's still a lot of events going on. I know that even in Malaysia, there's several big ones that are coming in. So those are some interesting ones that we could keep an eye out on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So then your current role, right,
yeah.
is with Fintech Malaysia.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that. How's what keeps you busy? How do you get your news? How do you get your hot stuff that big headlines that you break?
I mean,
out?
it's fun because for now it's still a relatively tight-knit community. So for us, it's quite easy to get the source of news because we just sit down with them and say, hey, what's new? What are you guys up to? What's next? What's the trend? What's the next big thing for your company? So I think the fact that we're on the ground really helps us to be very fast with breaking the news. But I think one of our challenges is that we also have this little conundrum that a lot of medias face. Because you're in this digital day and age where everything's about speed, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes you get a press release and you don't necessarily feel it's accurate.
Oh,
And
okay.
by the time you take to verify, sometimes it's a day or two and the story is already stale.
Yeah, something else has come up, right?
Yeah. But I think like we will have to make that balance. I think it's better to publish correct news slowly than to publish wrong news quickly.
Yeah.
So that's really the mantra we operate in Malaysia.
So let's help your competitors a little bit.
Okay.
So if I want to get tech news, right? In the good old days, it was probably, I don't know, E27, right? Was the one. And then the more, the bigger tech stuff would be like TechCrunch and The Verge.
I mean, even I
right?
follow that news.
Right?
As well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So right now, for who would you be competing with in terms of local or more regional fintech and technology type news?
I think local, you don't really have a media that's specialized in fintech per se. But of course, a lot of the media organizations do have a desk that focus on finance.
Right.
And they do write a lot of pretty good stuff as well. So, I mean, if you look at the Edge personal wealth segment, those are really good, right? They talk a lot about robo-advisors. Even the corporate side, they really have good sources when it comes to banks and what their activities are. When it comes to the more consumer focused, then you have the Soya Chinchaos. So
Yes.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Kiwi
that's right.
poster, all the e-wallet stuff. But strictly speaking, if you're talking about a pure focused specialized one, I think in Malaysia, we're really the only ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But it was born out of Singapore, is it?
Actually, I was born out of Switzerland.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about the company.
So the company was founded in 2013, 2014.
Okay. Still fairly new.
It's fairly new,
for-
fairly new. So simultaneously, the founder, Christian, he launched in Switzerland and Singapore. So currently, we are present in Switzerland, Singapore, Hong Kong, Malaysia, Middle East, and this year we're looking to launch in Philippines as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, after Singapore, then came Malaysia. So
Yeah.
did they come here and brought you on board just for Malaysia?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how's it going so far?
It's great.
Yeah.
Great. Right
How
time
much?
to be in it.
So how much? How much news do you get out of from Singapore as well? I'm sure there's a network between all the different locales, right?
So when you say how much news get out of Singapore, what do you mean?
Meaning, do you get fed a lot of news for the Malaysian market, or is it all Malaysia for Malaysia, and then
Right.
how many cross-country kind of news articles?
So like our
go
articles are very focused within the country. So if it's a story in Singapore, we'll publish in Singapore. If it's a story about Malaysia, we'll publish in Malaysia. But of course, there are companies like Grab, right? So when they announce something, it could be a regional thing. So we'll publish on both sides.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now recently, you do a lot of these in-depth studies and charts and things like that.
We
right?
try to. Anyways.
Yeah, it's good. It's gets the conversation going. And the most recent one that you did, I think was it last month, on the top 20 fintechs to look at in Malaysia.
Yeah, in Malaysia specifically.
Right? Let's go through that list and
Sure.
then see how that goes. Let me just pull my laptop up and
Yeah, no worries. So this is where we edit out lah.
I leave everything in.
Organic, huh?
It is.
Right. Cool.
Give me 1 second.
Sure, no worries, man.
So how do I find this, right? So let's see how good your
SEO
online
is?
SEO is, right? Okay, so I just do.
It's pretty good. I'm pretty sure it's number one there.
Malaysia top fintech. Let's see.
The number one?
No, some EY study goes up. Fintech number 2.
No.
But it's an ad.
That's an ad.
That's an ad. Okay,
we
so
don't have
you
EY
win.
budgets, you know.
You win. Okay, top 20 Malaysia fintechs. Now, how did you first of all come up with the idea of doing this top 20 Malaysian fintechs, and then how did you actually get the companies in here?
So I think one thing that we thought about when coming up with this list is that, in the whole ASEAN conversation about, there's this great fintech company in ASEAN, that great fintech company in ASEAN, Malaysia is often missing from the picture, just like our street food. So I thought...
Or you mean other countries will talk about theirs more louder than us?
Yeah, right. So we got to shout a little bit, right? So I thought maybe we will do this list to kind of highlight some of the good companies that are homegrown in Malaysia. I mean, we've been compiling since, I want to say last September, compiling submissions from the companies, like for them to justify like why they think they deserve to be on the list and whatnot. So then from
So
there,
you actually
kind of
sourced these companies out? I mean, for them to submit.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think we received over 100 submissions.
Okay.
Which is not bad because, like, considering the number of companies we have in Malaysia, last we tracked was like 200 plus, so it's almost 50%. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's start with the first one that you have here.
Alphabetical.
Alphabetical.
Yeah. It's not. It's
So
not
this
by
is not
ranking.
how great they are.
Yeah, it's like,
So what was the criteria that you know you use to decide on who gets on the top 20?
So there are a few things we look at. Number one is what kind of problems it's trying to address and how critical is that problem within Malaysia. Number two is, of course, their traction. And number three is, what is their future plans and what kind of potential does this company have?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go. First off is Axiata. So
Sure.
first one is not even. It's a fintech per se. It's a telco.
It's a telco. It's a subsidiary under a telco that has two specific units that focus into fintech. Yeah.
So they've got brands like Boost and Aspirasi.
Correct.
To be honest, I have not heard of Aspirasi. What do they do?
So Aspirasi, basically they offer loans to SMEs. As I understand it, they have about 70,000 merchants on the platform in which they offered loans. The number escapes my head, but as I understand it, they've dispersed millions in loan.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So they've also teamed up with a local bank to actually underwrite their loan book as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's that?
CMB Bank.
Okay. So they have. How far do you think? So Boost. Well, we all know about Boost as far as a wallet is concerned, right?
Yeah.
I'm just fast forwarding. So Boost themselves, you have not put inside as a company.
I mean, it's more of a brand than a company, right? Because Boost in itself is not really a company. Because Boost is a brand under the Axiata Digital as an entity.
Yeah.
So then, we look at it as a whole, right? So their Boost business will obviously contribute back to the Aspirasi business.
Okay. Will they stay longer, do you think? Or is this a let's build a company to spin out?
I think it'll be interesting. That would be interesting time because with the new virtual banking framework that's set to come out this year, I mean, Axiata has already publicly said that they're going to pursue that license.
Yeah.
So it really depends on whether they get the license and what they do with the license. I think one of the conversations that we looked at in the past 1 or 2 years when e-wallets launch, a lot of people are like, once the banks start to launch their own e-wallet, then you can pay straight from your Kasa accounts. The e-wallets, you don't need the e-wallets. But I think many of them weren't expecting the reverse to happen, is that some of these e-wallets might actually become banks, right? So then you have a Kasa account with Boost. And
but even before the launching of the potential digital banks, right? The wallets were already there. Obviously, there were, I think it was about 40 plus wallets.
Correct.
And then, down to the big
Whittled
3 or
down,
4, right? But what do you think made these 4 or 5 wallets hang around as opposed to being taken over by, your CIMB Clicks and the Maybank Maze and,
I think, if you compare these 3 names compared to the rest, obviously they're a lot more heavily funded. So they are able to outlast a lot of these other competitors. But if you look at...
So it's basically buying customers through all the discounts?
Feels like it for now. Feels like it.
Do you think once the discount money dries up, then the customers will then move back to conventional ways of paying?
It could happen, which is why companies like Boost, companies like GrabPay, they need to start looking at other alternative models to actually support some of these discounts and cashbacks, right? But a lot of them, of course, are moving towards getting the merchants to also semi-fund some of these discounts as well.
Yeah. But I guess it's only a matter of time when the ROI discussion catches back, right? Or unless you get to spin it off and sell it off, right?
I mean, it's just like a bank, right? I mean, at the end of the day, payments, there is a margin there, but it's not a huge margin. A lot of the money comes from other services like lending and whatnot. So I think that's where the direction is for these companies.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly a good time to be a customer right now, right? Everybody has the 3 or 4 wallets. Everybody's eyeing the discounts.
Yeah, nobody's upset about it.
Nobody's upset, right? Keep it going. In fact, I think anecdotally, I have friends who, who end up still using the wallets even though now the discounts are not quite there because it's maybe in that approach maybe will work. Right?
I mean, there are some extent of stickiness, right? I mean, while Malaysia's card penetration is extremely good compared to a lot of countries, but we still have some places where we don't accept cards.
Yeah.
So in those instances, the friction of withdrawing money is still heavier than using a wallet.
A wallet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So in fact, now I think one of the big boosts to that is the government giving the 30 ringgit, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what the last count is in terms of disbursements, but I've already heard, of the straight away there's promotions on how to spend that 30 ringgit, right?
I think Touch and Go were offering free cars or something.
Oh, really?
Like a lucky
Right?
draw, you might be one of them kind of thing.
There you go.
And my phone has never been busier since the E29. I was like, hey, how do I get this? Yeah.
Yeah, how'd you get this money? Right?
Yeah.
Then they find out, actually you've got to be 18 and above and earn, a certain amount, and then or earn less than a certain amount, then you'll get it, right?
And
Yeah,
the
so-
funny thing is, a lot of the people that ask is earning above those amounts. I was like, please,
There's
man,
guys,
don't take that 30
No,
ringgit.
exactly, right? Give them to the people who deserve it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, the next one is Big Pay.
Mm.
Good friends from Asia.
Yeah.
How are they doing? Do you know?
Asia or Big Pay?
Okay. Big Pay.
Big
then,
Pay, all
right?
right. Well, they claim they have the largest transactions, but I haven't actually verified those numbers.
But what made them on the list? If there was one thing that
Mm.
made them appear on this list, what
So-
was it?
I mean, personally, I'm a Big Pay user as well.
Okay.
I think number one, their UI is actually pretty good. So, I mean, when I spend Big Pay overseas, I'm able to track very easily where I'm spending it.
So it is primarily for traveling purposes that you use Big Pay.
Yeah, I mean that's the main use case, and I think that's the use case for a lot of people. But on the secondary fund, their budget expense tracking portion of the app is also pretty decent as well.
Okay.
So they provide you some summary every month, like, you're spending this much on retail, this much on food, for example. So they
That
break
is
it
the
down in a
breakdown.
visual format that helps you to track your spending.
And from a exchange rate standpoint,
It's good.
you have compared it with conventional ways of bringing cash or charging
Yes.
with any card. So what is the cheapest way to use Big Pay? Is it to
just
charge direct or to take cash from an ATM?
just charge direct, because if you take cash from the ATM, then I think there's an additional 10 ringgit charge, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it is to charge through the Big Pay MasterCard, right? Is it?
Yeah, I think MasterCard. Yeah,
it's
MasterCard.
MasterCard.
Yeah.
Cool. CoinGecko.
Yeah.
To
Bobby
be honest,
NTM.
I have not heard of them for a while.
Yeah. They seem doing pretty okay, actually. They've recently moved into a new office.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the primary business in cryptocurrencies with CoinGecko?
So CoinGecko is kind of like a crypto data aggregator. So you imagine it's kind of like a CoinMarketCap.
Okay.
So but CoinMarketCap used to measure based purely on the kind of trading volume, but CoinGecko looks at several more dimensions. And actually, they have a very strong global following. If I'm not mistaken, they're probably the second or third most visited site for crypto data.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so pretty solid, guys.
For the latest rates and,
Yeah,
and
couple
volumes
of
and all that.
couple of million visits per month. Pretty
Okay.
good.
And how do they make money?
Advertising and whatnot.
It's interesting how that model still works.
Works for us.
these guys. Yeah. For you guys as well.
Yeah, it's the same model.
I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is an interesting one.
Yeah.
FiLife,
FiLife, yeah.
the new insurance
Yeah.
company. So they're fairly new and already straight into the list.
Actually, they were rebranded from, if you remember, U for Life.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
FiLife was actually bought over by, I don't know if you know Malik from BFM.
BFM. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yep.
he and another co-founder bought over U for Life, rebranded it, and now they're aggressively pushing it again.
Right.
Yeah.
Any traction already? The fact that they're top 20
Yeah. I mean,
fintechs, is it
the numbers
more
are
for
good.
potential?
numbers are good actually, but I don't specifically remember the numbers offhand.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
It provides a competitive protection rate for a million. Do you see
Mhm.
players like FiLife, not FWDs in the picture, right? There's a
Mm.
lot more digital players. Not so much digital players, but
The incumbents.
incumbents, pushing more their digital agenda, right? This reminds me of the fintech banking sector 4 or 5 years ago, right?
Same narrative, right?
Same narrative,
Yeah.
right? Suddenly now,
Yeah.
insurance guys have suddenly woken up and trying to do this.
Mm.
Is that a trend that you're seeing in Malaysia anyway?
Yeah, actually, if you look at maybe 2-3 years ago, most of the press conferences that I attend were the startups, then followed by the banks. Now the press cons I attend, a lot are actually from the insurance companies.
companies.
A lot of them are starting to reach out. It's like, oh, there's this news site that covers this kind of financial technology story. So I think it's interesting. We're seeing quite a number of players waking up to it. Some of them actually doing a pretty decent job. But I don't think there's a lot that's offering a very strong digital proposition in the life insurance space. Yeah.
You could argue, in fact, that even from the fintech banking world, right?
Yeah.
It seems to have fizzled out a little bit, and the big life changer, if you like, that came out from all that was really the wallets, right? Payments was the big thing that came out, right? Not so much from lending per se. Okay, you've got your peer-to-peer and your ECF platforms, but not as much, I think. So I wonder, and that is for an industry where the highest transactions is your payments, right? Everybody does that 4 or 5 times, 10 times a day, right? From your wallet. So you have at least that volume of transactions to make that very easily disruptable. For insurance, though, it's an annual premium. You know. Okay, you can make purchasing it easier and more seamless, but for a transaction that only happens once a year, you know, do you think there'll be a big impact? You know, is disruption enough to?
So you're saying like there's not enough. There's no multiple touch point, unlike a payments, which it happens on daily basis, right?
So you take away 1 second from a transaction or ease of transaction from a payment and multiply that by
and
whatever.
Right?
There's a lot, right?
Yeah.
But if it takes me, I don't know, 6 hours to sit down with my agent to buy a purchase, but it only happens once a year, if that. Does it really matter now? It's gone down to buying online in 30 minutes.
I think it does matter to some, not to all, right? I think you'll still find a good portion of Malaysians who still prefer to sit down with an agent and understand these things, because it's a fairly complex product. So it helps to have someone explain. But of course, there are also some who's out there who just kind of prefers the convenience of being able to purchase it online. So I think there is definitely a market there. And I mean, if you look at the number of people that's underinsured in Malaysia and uninsured in Malaysia, it's a very clear sign that there's something in the current system that is failing the current Malaysians. Of course, specifically, I don't have 100% idea what it is, but I think having a good digital proposition is a good start to actually reducing that number.
Probably. So again, you know, instinctively when I think about, you say, adoption of digital for payments, right? At least the awareness and education part of using digital for payments, I don't know, I'll say maybe half the population doesn't know, and the other half will do it, right? Insurance, I think, you know, insurance itself, people purchasing insurance is probably less than that. So you need to overcome almost 2 barriers, right? So one is to overcome the awareness of insurance or the importance of insurance in the first place.
I think there's another barrier before that, right? It's just financial literacy as a whole.
Yes,
right?
Yes, that's true. It covers both.
A barrier of understanding insurance, and you have a barrier of the ease of buying insurance. So of course, 5 Life doesn't address all 3, but you know, it's a
nor am I picking 5 Life per se, right? It's just as a whole industry, I think you're right. The education of the importance of protection, right? Is key, right?
For sure,
Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Fantastic. Peer-to-peer financing.
Correct.
So this is on the second batch of licenses that...
I don't know. I think Fantastic was among the first batches.
Was it in the first one as well?
Yeah.
So they did pretty well. Raised 3 million in just 38 minutes on Pitchin.
Yeah, they did well on Pitchin's campaign. Right?
Which is ironic, right? So you have a P2P platform being raised on a P2P platform.
P2P platform being raised on the ECF
on
platform.
ECF.
But it's kind of an easy sell for them, because what I noticed is that a lot of the people who invested in Fantastic were actually Fantastic customers.
Okay, already.
So, and these customers are already people who are familiar with this kind of alternative investments. So it's kind of quite an easy sell for them, I suppose.
Right.
But of course, the reason why we picked them is not because they were able to raise funds quickly, but also the amount of SMEs they've helped to actually get financing as well through this P2P method.
Okay. I'm assuming that the platform's up and running, and I don't know how many customers are there
quite
already.
Sizable, but again, don't have numbers offhand.
Let me do a quick,
Yeah.
let me do a quick search.
I think they probably have it on their front page or something.
Yeah. Because I think that again, from a awareness standpoint for investors, okay, so you can go into equities, but investing in a peer-to-peer lending platform, obviously the returns should be higher. But I don't know how much non-performing loans have already crept up in this kind of platforms.
It has crept up in the space.
And I wonder if that's, now, because obviously the rates are higher, everybody just jumps in, but not sometimes realizing, well, there's a reason why the rates are higher, right? Because these potentially could be riskier.
I mean, that's the reality of investments, right? There's no such thing as a 100% safe investment. But I think one consideration is that a lot of people looked at the non-performing loan definition, not really non-performing loan, like defaults, because it's not really regulated by Bank Negara, so the terminologies are a bit different, right?
That's true.
So if they look at the default definition from Securities Commission was if they had, I don't remember 100% what was the definition, but the fact is you miss 1 or 2 payments or something like that. But what I understood is that a lot of these P2P companies, they actually pursue actions to recover some of this debt, and a lot of it at the end of the day was actually reconciled. Right, so
recovered.
Yeah, recovered. So it's not exactly like 100% they didn't recover some of this funds. So it might not be 100% reflective of what it is.
Okay,
but of course there are a few cases for sure.
I'm assuming they also, like the ECFs, they would also do the due diligence in terms of the companies that's raising the monies in there.
Yeah,
right? Yeah, or requesting for funds. Yeah, I'll need to log in and then get more details out. But
but they do have traction. But again, specific numbers I don't remember.
Time to go in and have a look.
Yeah.
GHL. This is the granddaddy of payment tools.
But one thing interesting about GHL that perhaps a lot of people are not noticing is that they're actually making a lot of partnerships. So recently they've made a partnership with an Australian company, if I remember correctly. So they are offering sort of the after-pay services with this Australian company.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you mean? What kind of service is it?
Like sort of installment services for online merchants or offline merchants. I can't even fully recall actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
On the merchant side?
On the merchant side. So, but this is not specific that one partnership, but it's looking at a broader shift in GHL strategy.
Right. Rather than just facilitating payments.
Correct. So they're looking at a lot of things like wealth and various different aspects as well. So I think GHL is definitely an interesting company to keep an eye out for.
Yeah. I'll try and get Denny on the podcast one of these days if we can get through the corporate. Okay. Hello Gold.
Hello Gold.
What? Okay, give me a few words about these guys.
I mean, I'm actually using the Smart Saver as well. It's actually pretty convenient. So I think number one thing we liked about Hello Go, we still do one thing we like about Hello Go is that if you look at a lot of the blockchain companies that's out there, right? A lot of them is like their core messaging is always, we're a blockchain company, we're a blockchain company.
Yeah.
So the way we like the way Hello Go kind of positions their message. They barely even mention the word blockchain actually. Yeah. The key thing is we're a wealth management company. We help you to save money in the form of gold for as low as RM1.
Yeah.
And that's a strong messaging. And I like that messaging. And their Smart Saver program is also good. They help you to monitor on a daily rate.
Okay. So I'm not familiar with their Smart Saver product.
Right.
So give us a quick rundown. How does that work?
So you set a monthly budget. And then on a daily basis, they help you to monitor which is the cheapest price, and then they help you buy gold.
Okay.
That's it.
And you just top up?
Yeah.
Or is it like a wallet where you put aside?
It's like a direct debit sort of thing.
Okay.
So it's a recurring payment every month.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there is any limitations in terms of withdrawing your money out from selling the gold? Do you need to find a buyer before you can sell?
No, not that I'm aware of. Actually, there is a step and process that you can take to just withdraw the gold. You can withdraw anytime.
Okay.
Yeah.
Something
not withdrawn. I don't know how long it takes, but
recently, during during the SARS and also during the Iran thing, the gold prices just went through the roof, right? So you benefited from that, I assume.
Actually, to be honest, I haven't really checked.
Well,
but
of course you have lah, right?
I mean, I didn't really check the prices, but probably, yeah.
Yeah, because it went up.
Yeah, but that's
quite a lot.
the benefit of it because it's happening on the background, and I'm investing in it on a more long-term horizon. So that's why I don't really check for this kind of
Right.
short-term movements.
Yeah. And I guess you're right in terms of technology per se, right?
Yeah.
They should, and they're rightly doing so, be talking about the value they have to their customers, right?
Yeah.
It's not so much how they're doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, if they had like a big SQL server at the back, it doesn't matter to you,
Nobody says that,
right?
right?
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
As long as you're concerned, okay, well, here's a wealth management feature. I can invest in gold.
Yeah.
Seamless, sounds like,
Nobody goes out and say, oh, we're a cloud computing company.
Exactly.
But most people run on cloud anyway. So
Yeah. Although the consultants did sell that before,
For a
right?
while.
So, for a while. Then now it's ubiquitous, and now everybody uses cloud. Yeah, that's true. Okay. Here's another old one. IP88. They've been around forever and ever.
They have been.
I've contributed to their revenues quite a bit. I'm sure everybody has.
You and I both, yeah.
And they are still there,
They're
right?
still
So where do you see them from an innovation standpoint, bringing new stuff to the market?
As I understand it, they're trying to go offline as well to compete in that kind of offline space. But I think the next battleground for them is obviously regional expansion.
Right.
I mean, they're really quite dominant in the Malaysian market.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
So did you get any feelers in terms of where in the ASEAN market they're heading out to?
Not specifically, no.
But that's part of their vision. Jirnexu.
Yeah, the guys behind Ringgit Plus.
Ringgit Plus. KY and the gang. Sorry, YT and the gang.
Yeah.
So I've liked them ever since my Maybank days 4 or 5 years ago,
You
right?
work with them, right?
Yes, yeah. And at that point we had, I think, some credit card referrals and whatever items that they sell, right? So they're one of the better aggregators out there. So how do you see them moving forward from where they are?
I think one thing that they are moving towards, besides the credit card space, is the insurance space. So they were in the sandbox to actually do financial aggregation for insurance. So the key is to make it transparent, make it easy for people to actually purchase insurance, which is something we spoke about earlier. Yeah.
I'm still there. So they've got 1.5 million monthly visitors.
Yeah.
Wow, are they the largest aggregator in Malaysia?
In terms of visits, yeah. In terms of visits.
800,000 customers, yeah.
Conversions are pretty decent from what I hear, but I don't have a specific number either.
Yeah. Katsana, another one of my favorites.
You know them, right?
Yeah. So Ahmad Fukaha. So we did. So yeah, they did come in, and they're working with Etika now.
Nice.
We introduced them to Etika.
Yeah.
Good homegrown type company. Quite tech.
Yeah, good tech.
There was a demonstration that they did that really impressed me. In the Bank Negara event. Where they showed the whole of Peninsular Malaysia, the highway,
the data,
right?
The graph, yeah.
And then they
Pretty
showed,
cool.
the lines going right. That's amazing data, which I think, maybe people they should sell that data to Plus and even the government, right?
It could be helpful. Yeah,
it is,
especially when you have all this festive season rush as well.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So for a company that actually does those kind of tracking, right? For our listeners, it's more about getting the movement of the car. How's that fintech?
Well, I mean, it's more insurtech than fintech per se, but I do think insurtechs do still fall under the whole ambit of financial services, so we do include them in our conversations as well. How it is related to this sector is the fact that they're using this data to introduce usage-based insurance. So, again, for the benefits of the listener, usage-based insurance is basically to enable different kind of policies for different type of driver behaviors and whatnot.
If you see you speeding all the time, then perhaps your premium should be higher.
Yep.
Right? Than me, such a good uncle driver.
Slow and steady.
As long as you get there. Money match.
Yeah.
So I just had Nathan in the last episode.
I'm sure you spent an extensive amount of time explaining
we
why.
did, right? And I think it's obvious the kind of volumes and transactions they're doing, right? It's just amazing.
For sure.
And it's just a question of how big can they be?
Yeah, and how far can they go in terms of the geography, right?
Yeah, that's right. My Cash Online. So Mehdi. So what do you think are their big ones? They are the big contribution to the fintech world.
I mean, I think if you look at a lot of the companies that, which is actually not a lot, if you look at the companies that target the migrant worker community, there are only a handful. But I think one advantage that MyCash has is that the founders are also migrants themselves. So they understand what are the pain points, they understand what are the services that needs to be provided to this community that they're not getting from the current formal systems.
And there seems to be a lot of potential in that, right?
Sure.
It is untapped, right?
For sure.
My Theo. So these guys I'm not familiar with at all.
So they are a robo-advisor. I think the robo-advisory framework was introduced to Malaysia in 2017, 2018. So
Right.
My Theo is really...
Although I remembered Bank Negara said don't use the word robo, right? Or something in there. Yeah.
Did they?
Yeah, I think it's like, no, because there needs to be I'm probably
Mm.
misquoting them. I think you said don't use the word robo because it's not robotic and automated. It's actually, there must be some
There is some hybrid involved.
yeah,
right?
some human input in there.
Yeah. Some robo-advisors have no human intervention, but most still have. But
Anyway, so
anyways,
My Theo.
in that respect, the formal terminology for it is actually digital investment manager.
okay.
Yeah, that's from the regulator, Securities.
There you go. So it's
Yeah.
not robo advisor.
not,
So it's
it's
a
not.
digital
Yeah.
finance advisor,
The digital investment manager.
investment manager.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, MyTeo is the first and the only Malaysian company in the list of 3 approved digital investment managers
Okay.
under the Securities Commission framework.
Right.
Of course, the benefits of a robo-advisor is that you can invest in ETF with very little money. So you kind of give access to a wealth product to a larger audience. Yeah.
So they're up and running.
Up and running
already.
Yeah. Actually, they launched sometime Q3 last year.
Okay. Fairly
So-
new still. Yeah.
But they have big names behind them.
I can see Silver Lake.
Silver Lake is behind them. And this, the Money Design, which is the first robo-advisor in Japan, is also behind this company
okay.
as well.
No, don't know them.
So good pedigree.
Right.
Yeah.
Another
Pitchin.
familiar face, Pitchin.
Yeah.
One of the more successful ECF platforms, or the
I
most
think
successful.
They're the most dominant
most
one.
successful, yeah.
So it's a kind of no question to include them in the
Yeah.
list.
So why do you think they are in the place that they are?
Mm.
All 7 companies, was it 7 platforms?
I lost track of the number.
Yeah, 6
but
or 7
that's a good
ECFs,
number of
right?
them,
And they just kind of shot ahead.
yeah.
Why do you think they've outpaced their competitors?
I think number one, and then at the risk of upsetting the other players.
Sure,
But I think number one, Sam and his team is really embedded in the startup community and ecosystem. So whenever there's any startup gatherings or any startup related kind of functions, you always see a team member there.
Right.
So I think being part of the startup community is important, which is why you see a lot of their issuers are also from that space as well.
Okay.
And I think the fact that they ran the accelerator, they still do run the accelerator, helps them to kind of be involved with the entire cycle of
Right.
it, right? So I think that really
They're
helps you
in
the
touch.
business. Yeah.
Because it's very different. I guess even though Pitch In and WTF
Yeah.
Accelerator is 2 different entities, right?
But
And
still the
programs.
same
But it's
people.
the same guys with the same principle, if you like.
Correct.
Right? In driving
Yeah.
companies.
And I think it really snowballs because when they started, they have a head start with all this connection to the community, right? So once you have this kind of lead within a year, and next year people are thinking about where do I raise crowdfunding, they're like, these guys raise the
These guys are already
most.
there, yeah.
Then it kind of just snowballs into like
It's almost by default, right?
Yeah,
You will go
yeah.
to them first.
before
before you go anywhere else, right?
Yeah.
And they've proven themselves, right?
Correct, yeah. So they've done a good job.
The large,
There's no reason to swap to.
yeah. Policy Street.
Hmm.
Some ex-May bankers here.
Yeah, I'm sure you recognize one face.
Yeah, Wilson. In fact, before they left, this is quite funny. I don't
Yeah.
know if Wilson will scold me about this. So he came up to me and said, "Hey, you know what? He wants to quit and do this policy thing." I said, "Don't be stupid, lah." I was like, "Come on, man. You go and get more knowledge in this industry, then you go out and do it, right?"
You never know, you might be incubating him in your space.
Yeah, you don't know. But anyway, so he's like, I'm very proud of these guys, right?
They've done well.
Very well, yeah. And
They've recently got their financial advisor license, which
yes,
is good.
yes,
Yeah.
correct. And in fact, just on that, so it's interesting that we now have, on your 20 fintech list, a few of them in the insurance space,
Yeah,
right? Was there a top 20 fintech last year? this time last year?
Actually, the last time we did it was 3 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were there any? Do you recall? Were there any insurance type tech
If
companies?
there were much less. There were much less.
Right.
I think even the entrepreneurs within the space are starting to realize nobody's really trying to address these issues, which is why a lot of them are going into it. I suppose.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Synergy, not familiar with these guys.
So there are
another crypto exchange.
There are 3 crypto exchanges that are one that receive a full license and 2 that receive a conditional license. And Synergy is the only Malaysian one that receive a conditional license from Securities Commission Malaysia.
Okay, to operate the crypto exchange.
Yeah, but before this Securities Commission started regulating the crypto space, they were operational.
Okay.
And then there's a moratorium.
I guess that's when it was kind of grey area, right?
Correct.
There was no guidance and all that.
Yeah. So everybody was still operating, including Luno and whatnot.
Yeah.
So then when the regulation came out, then everybody had to put a halt and go through the licensing process. Right. So Synergy actually had good numbers before the regulations came out. So we expect that once they're fully operational again, they would see similar numbers.
Okay.
Plus, there's not a lot of competitors within the local space. It's just them and 2 others.
Sorry, so you say when they're operational again. So right now they're not?
No. Because it's still conditional approval.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's on condition of what? Do you know?
Probably fulfilling a few more checkboxes with the Securities
Because
Commission.
prior to that, where it sounds like the company traded more than $16 million in the first 6 months.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, soft space.
You know those guys.
Yes. Again from a payment standpoint,
I think
they're still out there.
They're still out there, and SoftSpace has brought a lot of new technology and innovation to Malaysia, right?
Yeah.
One might argue that last time we had the whole M-Post thing, the one you plug the dongle on the phone.
That's right, and then you can in charge. I think CIMB had them, Maybank had them as well.
So SoftSpace were one of the first guys that really pushed it to the market. But they've also done a lot of interesting things recently. They have this tap on glass payment.
Yep.
Which I thought was pretty cool, right? So the
use your phone.
Yeah, just use your phone and credit card, tap on it, and you can pay. It's not bad.
But how's the adoption though?
I think deployment, they are still working out some hiccups. It's not fully deployed at the moment.
Right.
But they have secured partnership with PayNet, so that really and Maybank as well, I believe.
Okay. No way.
So
I mean, they so I think Maybank, they are a partner. Maybank does use SoftSpace.
Yeah, they do, but
I'm not sure for whether it's for this.
Specifically for this, they've partnered.
Okay.
There's a Maybank's one is called Tap to Phone, I think.
Right.
Yeah. So you might have more details than me.
I'm not sharing, but anyway. Okay. Yeah, so so I think even for the last 3-4 years, they have always brought new things out to the market. So consistently, so I think that's quite good.
And they've done quite well overseas as well, especially in Taiwan and Japan.
Touch and Go. Yeah, these guys are cool. I have to say, one of my favorite wallets.
Yeah, they've actually improved a lot. Right. I don't know if you remember when they first launched it, they had the thing where you had to physically top up.
Oh, yeah. So, I gave them a bit of shit with that one. Say,
everybody gave them a bit of shit.
Right? You need to go, but no, okay lah. I mean, kudos for them trying. Right? They had to move over and they were stuck with some old tech. Correct. Right? And that was the best way they could
But they really bounced back up. And I remember Nizam was saying on stage, it's like the Bollywood movie. First you gotta fall, then you gotta rise back up. So I guess this is the rise lah.
They have risen. So again, back to the 30 ringgit thing, they rode on that. I'm recently very happy with them because they were sponsoring one of the local coffee places. 1 ringgit if you pay with the Touch and Go wallet, right? So for 2 months, I was texting Nizam, hey, thanks for coffee,
thanks
man.
For the 1 ringgit coffee.
Yeah, no more 5 or 7 ringgit. But again, but it comes back to my point earlier where, how far will discounts and all that drive sticky customer behavior, right? Change behavior.
That's always a question that we'll have to find out. But I think the usage of the app is quite seamless.
Yes.
I do know that there's a number that would still continue using it just because it's more convenient. Yeah. But how large that number is, it remains to be seen.
Yeah, I've just installed it for my grandparents and my in-laws. So not my grandparents, my in-laws. Then came the challenge of so we've installed it on their phone. Now I think they'll be too nervous to actually use it, right? In front of the shop. So we'll probably have to stand next to them and say, hey, here's how you pay with it. And I think that's a challenge in terms of the more a different demographic, right? Of not being able to use the phone for more than just WhatsApp and calls. Then to use that for payments, it's a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, actually, that's the same problem in China, right? And I was talking to some guys from WeChat Pay China, and they said for the older generation, it was the same thing. Like, the biggest problem wasn't that the app was complex or difficult to use. It's just they don't know whether it's real money, because it's just a number on the phone, right?
Yeah.
So, but with that, you got to design campaigns around getting them to use it and understand it and realize, hey, I actually bought something with this 30 ringgit or whatever.
Yeah. And I think even for that age, there is an element of peer pressure, right? Amongst the uncles and the aunties, hey, I can
keep
use
cool,
it. Yeah, stay cool.
Actually, I heard two uncles chit-chatting in the kopitiam. So it's like, this e-wallet one. So I mean, that is a shift in terms of like who we imagine are the primary demographic.
Yeah. And they're even talking about it.
Yeah. So
like,
it's a progress.
It is. Tranglo, cross-border payment specialist.
Yeah. Really big numbers for cross-border payments. I think Triangle is one of those companies that are a little bit more underrated because they operate a bit on the back end, but they've done a lot of transactions. They've made global partnerships with Alipay.
Right.
They're also powering the remittance for WeChat Pay, and they're actually powering the remittance for a lot of the remittance startups in this region as well.
According to your article, they've processed over 5 billion worldwide, right? So dollars, I assume.
Should be.
And on the trajectory to grow further. Wow. That must make them, as far as a homegrown fintech company, one of the biggest.
Yeah, pretty
from
solid,
a transaction
actually,
standpoint, right? Yeah, cool. So how has the reception been to this article?
Well, there are some agreements and disagreements.
I'm sure you get the calls like, hey, how come I'm not in the top 20,
why
right?
you put me in the list?
Right. Why are they there? I'm better.
And then there are also some readers who were commenting like, why are companies like Grab not on the list and whatnot?
Yeah. And why are companies like Grab not on the list?
Technically not Malaysian.
Not Malaysian. Okay, fair enough.
So there's been some pushbacks here and there, but I think we are able to justify why we put them there. I mean, of course, everyone's welcome to agree or disagree, but I think we've justified enough to list them there.
Beyond just getting an article out, right? So what do you hope for the impact to be for this kind of articles from you guys?
I mean, actually, the Deputy Minister of MITI, he actually noticed the article.
Oh, I thought I saw that on Twitter. Right? On a tweet, right?
He did, right? So he's like, it seems like a good list. So then we reached out to him and said, do you want to meet them? Right? And we're actually meeting on the 25th of this month.
Okay.
We have an agenda set out, like how can MITI help this this industry? How can this industry help the SMEs? So there's a whole thing going on. And I think it's good because like these kind of articles are being noticed by the right people. Yeah.
So that was kind of a happy outcome.
Yeah, like we didn't expect it, but it's happy outcome for everyone.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was the goal initially?
The goal was really just to highlight the companies, and we didn't expect a meeting out of it, but that's a nice little bonus.
Yeah. So you mentioned the last one was 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
So why did it take so long for another one? Is it because guess what? The next year is gonna be exactly the same 20 companies kind of thing, or you're just too lazy?
I think it's just there's just so much happening in the past 2 years that we didn't look at that list. And then one day, when we look back at the list, and then we're like, hey, some of these companies aren't doing that great anymore.
Oh, the list was really...
Some of them are like, oh, wow, these guys are doing really great.
Yeah.
And so like, these aren't doing that great anymore. I was like, okay, let's update this list. Yeah. Because the list was still like ranked quite high. And we felt it wasn't really a representation of what Malaysia has to offer. So we updated it.
Okay. Yeah. So this would be on the top end of the fintechs, right? Are you planning to do some kind of watch this space kind of list?
We did 2 years ago, which I think needs to be updated as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who from there turned up on this list? Did you guys predict any that
Honestly, I don't remember. Yeah.
Okay, so you will come up with another one.
We will.
Okay.
When time permits.
Right. So I guess from a overall fintech, insurtech vibrancy standpoint, right? How have you seen the change happen in the last, say, 2-3 years in Malaysia? The journey of fintech companies.
I think the biggest thing is that when we all first started out, Then you have all this fintech community gathering. It's like 10, 15 people. You know all the faces. A big one would be maybe like 30 people or whatever.
Right. Especially when there's free makan.
Yeah, free makan. Come and lepak, you know. And a lot of them weren't even like entrepreneurs yet. A lot of them were just like trying to figure out what they wanted to do, right? And if you fast forward to 3 years, some of these guys are raising their Series A, some of these guys are raising their Series B. And there's a lot of faces that I don't know anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
It's a good thing. It used to be you look in the room and it's like, all these guys are here, right? So I think, it's interesting. That's some of the shifts that we're seeing. Definitely more insurtech companies coming into the space.
Yeah.
We're also seeing more big corporates going into fintech as well. Before this was mostly
big corporate non-banks, you mean?
Big corporate non-banks, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now with the the announcement of the digital licenses that's coming out. So what's the word on the street?
I mean, obviously, you look at all the e-wallet players, especially the major ones. Definitely, they're interested to apply. You don't have to hear it from them, but you can tell. Like looking at the business model, the business plan, it's like I'm sure talks are happening.
Yeah.
Probably the guys who applied in Singapore would also look at applying in Malaysia as well. Because I think in the provision for the Monetary Authority of Singapore, they are permitted to expand to 2 other markets to get licenses.
Okay.
So Malaysia seems like a very natural transition. So there's guys like Razer who primarily the fintech operations are in Malaysia.
Yes.
So it should be quite a no-brainer to also say that they are probably applying as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, we are writing an article about that soon also.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, that'll be an interesting one to hear.
Mm.
Yeah. So, but beyond and obviously a lot of these guys are coming in as of groups of companies.
Yeah,
Right? Coming in,
consortiums.
Consortiums.
Yeah. Unless you look at the Chinese players, then those guys could probably stand on their own, but probably have one local partner to help them to familiarize with the market and regulators and whatnot.
Yeah.
I have heard a few that's interested in Malaysia as well. Yeah.
Yeah. That'll be quite interesting.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, it'll probably be the insurance digital license as well. And
Could be the e-commerce players as well.
Yeah. Could
I
be.
mean, Shopee has a payments license.
But still, it is. It's the ones with a natural reach to customers.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. Or even the SMEs as well.
Yeah. And although having said that, though, the obviously the focus is more on the B40.
Yeah.
Which I think is a good thing, right? From a community standpoint, but it's also, I guess, minimizes the risk a little bit of this immediate clash between the digital bank players and the incumbent banks, right?
Yeah.
So that'll be an interesting one to see.
But,
how that
I
goes.
have my concerns sometimes when it comes to fintechs trying to serve the B40, the underserved. Because you look at a lot of these very popular models in the overseas market that focus on maybe all these later pay kind of programs. I don't feel necessarily those are good kind of financial products to push to B40s, right?
To make them almost less responsible.
Correct, right?
For their money, right?
I mean, there is productive loan and there's really unproductive loan. So I'm sure Bank Negara is paying attention to this area as well.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. And I think if you look at microloans, right? So those would be, you would say, the more productive kind of use of funding, right? So to run businesses and
for
mom and pop shops and all that.
To uplift for social mobility, right?
Exactly.
Those are good
Correct.
loans. Yeah.
But to get the latest mobile phone, and all that, then maybe not so much.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Okay. What else beyond that? So what are the plans for? So apart from an article from Razer, big themes that you see coming up from Malaysia, fintech wise, whether it's technology.
Big teams are really focused on financial health. I think for a lot of countries within ASEAN region, if you talk about Cambodia, Myanmar, Philippines, Indonesia, when they say financial inclusion, is really look at the unbanked and underbanked, right? But I think and a lot of Malaysians that are not within the financial space, they don't feel this way. But actually, our financial inclusion is pretty good.
Yeah.
I think the number's hovering between 80 to 90%.
Yeah, it is. Even for us, right? When you're in primary school, you'll open your either BSN account or whatever Maybank account.
I still have my account from those days.
There you go, right? Yes, NSB. So I think we've got that penetration down pretty good. Yeah.
But what we are not good at is our financial health, right? Our financial literacy is one thing. A lot of Malaysians are not really investing.
Yeah.
A lot of Malaysians are not really literate. So that's why we're seeing a lot of fintechs actually coming up from this space to address this area. So I mean, even if you look at robo-advisors, by design, they're here to address the market where people are not investing. Just to provide an alternative form of investment for them.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I think another theme is interoperability.
Okay. Between
the e-wallet players and the banks, right?
Right.
So ICTF came out when the
2 years ago.
The 2018 is it?
Yeah, I think it was 2 years ago.
Yeah. So then they said, "Oh, we're gonna push this thing now."
Yeah, so we're gonna have the single QR code standard.
Yeah. It got delayed a bit, but it seems to be picking up now. Actually, today Touch 'n Go also just announced that they have joined it. And by July, they are going to fully push it and phase out the Touch 'n Go QRs and just use the Do It Now QR.
Okay.
So that's actually a pretty good progress.
Move.
Yeah, it's a big move. And from what I understand, 40 banks are on it, GrabPay's on it, and a few other guys are on it.
I think everybody technically is ready to adopt it.
Correct.
Right? I think it's just a question of... I don't know what it is a question of adoption.
I heard the fees are a bit restrictive for some of the players.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could be. So still some payments. That's still a theme in a way. So financial wealth.
Financial wealth. I think you also see more cloud adoption. I mean, Bank Negara recently clarified the outsourcing guidelines.
Yes.
So from there, you see more banks and more fintechs feeling more comfortable to adopt cloud for more crucial services. Digital onboarding definitely is going to be a big thing.
With the digital KYC,
Correct.
KYC, yeah.
Correct. So the MSB one came out, the remittance one came out, the bank one, the eKYC for the banks is still a draft framework, but it's out. And then you have the government working on digital identity broadly. So those are some themes that we are seeing in Malaysia at the moment.
Yeah, and I think that would be a game changer, right?
Yeah.
The digital identity, because I think that's what Singapore is doing, right?
Yeah,
so one of the first things is you got to standardize that.
Correct.
Then everything else falls in place.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, what is the point of a digital bank if you still got to show up to sign up for it?
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like it's very counterintuitive.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter whether you get to use a mini mart to do it or a cafe to do it. You still have to do it physically, right?
Correct.
Which is what you're trying to get away from. Right?
It's not digital, is it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's true.
So I think that's good, but we definitely need a central thing first, which we don't have yet. Yeah.
What about yourself? So you've been with these guys now for
3 years. Yeah.
Oh, 3 years.
3 years. Yeah.
Sorry. Oh, okay. Got my math wrong. 3 years.
Yeah.
And so what next? Or happy where you are?
Seems okay.
There's enough excitement.
I'm enjoying it. Yeah, getting a pulse on what's going on. It's pretty fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good gig.
I mean, I guess the next question would be, since you rub shoulders with so many of them, right? You know where this is going, right? You see all the opportunities or areas which people have missed out. Aren't you tempted to yourself? Come on, just go out there and do this.
There are the temptations, but I'll keep my options open. But there is no definite I'm going to jump into this or whatnot. Yeah, I still think there is an important role for us to play within the ecosystem. So we'll remain here for now.
For now,
yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
That's all from me.
All right.
It's coming to the hour now, so thank you very much, Vincent,
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And looking forward to the articles that you're gonna send out
for sure.
in the future. Thanks, man.
Thanks.